Minnesota has an abundance of talented musicians. Welcome to A Taste of Talent on the Road, where we will chat with Minnesota musicians of any genre, talking about their story and their music, shining a light on diversity in local music. I am your host, Jacob Woody. Let's find out what is vibing in the hearts and souls of Minnesota music. This is A Taste of Talent on the Road. Hey everybody, I'm Jacob Woody, and welcome to A Taste of Talent on the Road, Season 2. We're taking the title to a new level here. I'm sitting with a good friend, David Stoddard. We're in the cities today. And David, thank you so much for joining. I'm so honored for this to happen.
Oh, well, the honor's mine. Thank you for having me. It's really, really nice of you. It's good to be here, everybody.
Yeah, you can plug into your first song whenever you're ready.
All right. Down through the ages, the grizzled old sages would stand on their stages and give us the word. We'd go forth singing, yeah, we'd all come out swinging, and our ears would be ringing with the wisdom we'd heard. So fingers on strings, be ye pawns or kings, only one thing that you can count on. So don't you dare take a seat, you keep on moving your feet, 'cause it's a one-way street, and when you're gone, you're gone. Dearly departed, we're all broken hearted. We thought we were smart and we knew the why and the how. We thought we could do it, instead we broke it. Yeah, we blew it, and now we're all going through it, and we sure need you now. These times of trouble, a hard time seem double. We're all stuck in our bubble, and everything just feels wrong. If I could hear John Prine sing just one line, I know that I could finish this song. Yeah, down through the ages, those grizzled old sages would stand on their stages and give us the word. We'd go forth singing, and we'd all come out swinging, desperately clinging to the wisdom we'd heard. So fingers on strings, be ye pawns or kings, there's only one thing that you can count on. Don't you dare take a seat, you keep on moving your feet, 'cause it's a one-way street, and when you're gone, you're gone.
Beautiful.
Oh, you're so kind.
Yeah. Was that song written for John Prine after his passing?
No, it was about a week before his passing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're a step ahead.
I think so. Yeah, I like to always try to keep ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I had a couple of those lines sort of bouncing around for a number of years before I finally decided. I heard he was sick, and so I thought maybe now would be the time to finish that little tune. So about a week before he passed.
Wow.
So.
Well, Dave, again, I really am so thankful for you to be able to take the time to do this today. And what you been up to? It's been forever since we've been able to chat.
Well, as you know, I lived for a good number of years out in western Minnesota, and I've since the pandemic chased me to the cities, and so I live in Minneapolis now, and doing some teaching, and I started a music service
Ooh.
whereby I supply music for commercials and TV shows.
Love that.
TV themes and so on. Yeah, we're called Northern Roots Sync Music. We're capitalizing on the brand where my radio show has been for almost 20 years now. And me and a songwriter out in St. Cloud have put together this little endeavor. We supply music for commercials.
That is awesome.
And beds for people to talk over and things like that. So, yeah.
That is perfect. How did that get started? Because I know you were, you did some little like commercial work and like little TV stuff when you were teaching at M State. But,
yes, yeah.
Is that kind of hybrided to this now?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what that was. Part of it is music for short attention spans, because sometimes they only last 30 seconds or a minute or so, and then I kind of go, all right, that's a good one. We'll do that one. That's good, and then I don't have to write any lyrics or anything, which is pretty sweet, because I can't remember. I mean, even in that last song, I left a verse out that I can't remember how it goes anymore. Man. I was sort of hoping this would be the document whereby I could check out and go, what were the words to that song? Apparently it's not going to happen.
Apparently not now, huh?
Because, things disappear.
Well, let's, I guess, just dive right into it and go from the very beginning.
Okay.
What gave you your love for music?
Well, as they say, and you are a person who is going into music education, so you probably have heard this, that normally a person who's involved in music has a single event that put them there.
Yeah.
There's generally something that flips the switch.
Yep. Or
presses a button somehow in which you suddenly have a deeper understanding or a deeper way of hearing music. And for me, it was hearing the Jay Giles Band on the radio. And I as a kid, I used to just sit with the headphones on and listen to the radio or albums or whatever. And the one song, I just, wow, can you hear that? Listen to that. And I can still remember. I can still put myself in that place. So, I don't know. Everybody does that. Everybody has a thing that they like to do in which they had one moment that put them there. So
yeah, wow.
But
dang, that's cool. I mean, I can relate with that when it comes to just there's one solid moment that everything changes.
What was it? What was it for you?
Well, for me, to go into teaching was sitting in the audience watching my band director conduct the junior high band when I was in senior high, and because the idea was floating, but it's just like, wouldn't it be awesome to inspire? Think of how many kids he's inspired.
Right.
Wouldn't it be awesome to do the exact same thing?
Right.
And
exactly
from then on, it was just, this is what I want to do.
Well, there you go. Yeah, see? Yeah. And it doesn't have to do with music generally. It has to do with everything.
Right.
Everything,
yeah.
If you have say your hobby is model trains or something like that, there was something that lit that spark that doesn't die. So
exactly.
It's nice.
Yeah. How long have you been playing guitar then?
Oh, since back in the 1900s.
Okay.
People have started saying back in the 1900s now. And that makes me feel super old. Because I had a grandmother who was born in the 1800s.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So I am one of those back before the turn of the century people now. I've started picking up guitar when I was probably 11, 12, something like that. Piano is my main instrument, but guitar has a whole thing that you can do that you can't generally do with piano as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just I picked it up to sort of add another dimension to what it is I was doing, and I started seriously doing it back later on when I was probably in my 20s or 30s, and I was teaching at a place over in Hartford, Wisconsin, and the woman that ran the music store, I wanted to rent a guitar from her, and I said, I'd like to rent that guitar. I don't see any rental information on it. She goes, that's not one of our rentals. That's for sale, but you could just have it. And so she gave me but she gave me a really nice guitar at the time, and she was very generous, and So that was like, oh, I guess I'm doing this now, and
Nice.
haven't
yeah.
looked back. Played till my fingers bled, as they say.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
And then how long was so then piano was before guitar then?
Oh yeah, piano started in 2nd grade or something.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm unlike a lot of kids. That's all I ever wanted to do was take piano lessons.
Wow. Yeah, that's a rare breed.
I remember getting really frustrated, and my sister would say, "Well, why don't you just quit?" What? No.
No, you can't just
Just 'cause I'm
quit.
frustrated. I'm not
Right.
quitting. That's not what that's about. So,
Speaking of different influences and stuff, I know just because I know you so well, but I know a big influence to you was the Beatles. Which again, who weren't they
hasn't
inspired
been
to?
influenced? Right.
Right. But what else is there? There's the Beatles. Who else really inspired you in the music world then?
Well, I came of age at a time when the Beatles were pretty popular, and my parents were big Beatles fans.
Oh, okay.
So as a little kid, we still had all the original 45s and stuff that I listened
Okay.
to. But when I really started paying attention to music and understanding that you could write songs of your own, I was a big fan of John Denver and a lot of the pop. In fact, I remember the very first time looking at a John Denver album and looking at the back and going, hey, he didn't write all these. Wait a minute, these people wrote these songs. This guy wrote. And actually, one of my favorite albums of his is the Rocky Mountain High album. And over the years, I've actually had the pleasure of working with a few of those songwriters
Really?
that have written for John Denver. Yeah, and so it was a real influence in terms of knowing that, oh, you can do this. It's kind of like, in a way, it's a little bit like learning plumbing.
Like
where,
plumbing?
Where you kind of go, something's wrong with the plumbing. It's not a mystery. People know how to fix these things. This is doable.
Right.
People put roofs on. How hard can it be? I mean, it's not superhuman. You just have to learn how to do it. And writing and playing music is just like that. People do it. It's just a matter of learning how. Dakota girl loves wintertime, and she longs to hear that wind around the door. And she'll stay up till the fire is out just to feel her icy feet upon the hardwood floor. She cherishes this time alone, and she'll wait until the sun is gone and never feel the need to light the light. It's windy and it's cold and it's dark and she's alone, and she's never felt as grounded as she feels tonight. And outside the wind becomes a stream that slithers in that gap between her clothes, tickling on her hidden skin like water trickling down until her legs are froze. With open arms she starts to float. She'll welcome with an open coat to twirl around and take the coolness in. And she's opened all those mysteries out, floating on the slightest breeze in winter. That's the water that she's floating in. And some people have a passion that their summer-loving sisters cannot know. Summer lovers cannot understand the beauty of all those diamonds on the coldest snow. And the wind's gonna make her tears to come, and for a moment when her cheeks are numb, the stars are brighter than she's ever seen. And way out there is just the blackest tar, clear out to the furthest star, and she's closer now to heaven than she's ever been. Dakota girl loves the wintertime, and she longs to hear the wind around the door. She'll stay up till the fire is out just to feel her icy feet upon the hardwood floor.
Probably one of my favorite tunes of yours.
Oh, you're so kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that you submitted that tune for a contest and they said no because it wasn't accurate enough?
Yes, it does. No one would believe it. That is, so many of my song introductions are just made up nonsense stories, but that one actually has a little bit of truth to it.
Really?
Because that's
what's
the
the
one
story, if I may ask?
Of that song?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true, first of all.
Oh, okay.
But the idea is that I did submit it for a contest, and they say it wasn't good enough. It wasn't true enough. Really?
Well, I mean, come on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I think I may have said exactly the same thing. I mean, come on.
How accurate can you not get? This is, man.
I know.
I know. Okay.
I know.
I always used to say that I was a student before a fan, but I've truly grown to be a good old David Stoddard fan.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I mean, it's what started your? Because really, the cool thing is when you perform, it's you know how to just communicate with the audience, and I always love how I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but you don't take a lot of the stuff, too seriously. Like, I need to do perfect on this. It's like, hey, we're having fun, especially when you do your house concerts and stuff.
Yeah, and one of the things I've noticed, and it's funny you should mention that. Even to have, now we're doing this because we're recording it, and you need the apparatus in order to capture the vibrations. But
sure.
But the thing about it is, if you're doing a concert, it's far more effective to not have a microphone. There's a physical barrier between you and the audience, and that is why living room concerts are really the way to see music. I mean, it's the way it's been done for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very honest and organic approach to whatever it is that you're trying to get across to someone. It's
very raw.
Yeah, and it's real in the sense that if you're going to have a conversation with somebody, you rarely do it with microphones in your face, right?
Well, I don't know about you.
That's the only way I'll talk to people.
Right.
But it's much more real in a concert setting,
right?
To not have electronics.
Yeah.
There's something about it's sort of the difference between an actual piano and a keyboard. You can approximate them, but there's something to be said for the way an instrument vibrates the floor and the walls and the air that is something that has not been able to be duplicated yet because they simply can't. And so house concerts are almost all that I do. In the house concerts, this really relates back. It's not as though people are trying to skirt any kind of laws. They're trying to keep within the law.
Right.
For example, if you're going to do a house concert, you cannot use the word ticket.
Oh.
Because a ticket is a de facto contract wherein you're guaranteeing someone's safety at your event in a public place. None of which is true with a house. Right?
Yeah.
And you cannot advertise because advertising is also a sort of de facto contract where you're opening. And so if you have advertising and tickets to your home and you do not have a licensed kitchen, for example, you cannot do anything. However, in order to, and also, I will also add that homeowners insurance a lot of times won't cover your home if you open it as a public event. That's not what your insurance.
Oh, interesting.
And so what people do is they say the word donation. And it is absolutely when you attend a house concert, your admittance is generally absolutely
Voluntary?
Voluntary, yeah.
Okay.
So they call it a donation, a suggested donation,
Nice.
and then
Okay.
they don't offer. It's not advertising. They offer invitations. You are invited.
I like that. Yeah, it
It's
gives a good vibe then too.
It's a
not,
really
yeah.
nice vibe.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
Because something that's kind of I've seen that's happening after the whole world shut down because of the pandemic and
Sure.
stuff. It's kind of like a renaissance again, where music's being more vibrant. Do you also notice that?
Yeah, people are really excited to get out
Yeah.
there and play, and they're
It's
really
awesome.
excited to get out there and listen to music that's actually happening in front of them again.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
And I bet that just feels good then.
Yeah, it really does. You just, there's this sort of, every time I've done it a few times, and you sort of get in front of an audience and you go, remember this?
Right.
Wasn't
Yeah.
this fun?
Wasn't this just awesome?
This was
Yeah.
amazing. Remember when we used to do this all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a vibrant music world, but there's also a lot of stuff going on, like, of course, like in the political world and all that crap. But
Right.
do you also? I'm guessing you also feel like this is more important because it is an escape reality kind of business,
Yeah, for the audience.
right?
And, ironically for the artists, a lot of times it's not. It's an actual,
Well-
this is the only reality.
Right.
And so you have this sort of a strange relationship with the audience where their motivations are always different from yours.
Yeah, I suppose.
And it's always fun to sort of walk that little tightrope between,
Yeah.
you're not taking this seriously,
Right.
but the rest of us are. Or you can
Yeah.
just try to meet them halfway. And you've learned this in your educational studies as well, that you have to meet students where they are.
That's true.
And
Yep.
and so you have to meet an audience where they are. What is their emotional language? What is their musical language?
Yeah.
Can they listen to a guy with a guitar?
Yeah.
Is that part of their musical experience? And for a lot of them, it's just not.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Right.
But so I had a friend that once said, he goes, I try to put a little education into all my shows, and I kind of, I don't put any education in my shows at all. There's no education in my shows.
That's coming from a teacher.
I know.
David.
There's a time and place for it. Nobody wants to be educated. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be educated. Oh, especially against their will.
True. That's true. Yeah.
I had a show one night, and I was getting a haircut the day of the show, and I was sitting in the thing getting my haircut. And the guy sitting next to me, they're just talking with the barber, and the barber says, "So you guys, you gonna watch the game tonight?" And the guy says, "No, my wife's dragging me to see this musician guy." All right, I see how it is. This might bear explanation. It's got this chord in it. Got a little flat five
okay.
action happening, but this is a true story.
Okay.
Kid next door has been killing crows because his mother, she's got no use for those. So she sends him outside with a little shotgun, and when the dirty deed is done, she'll snap a picture of what he took, and then she'll put it out there on her little Facebook, and her still life in black and red is just a pile of crows, all of them dead, extolling the virtues of her little man. He can do no wrong as she's a big fan. And now here in God's garden, it's a glorious day, now that those crows are out of the way. She's proud of that boy, you can see it in her words, acting all manly, dispatching those birds with nary a thought for his own desire. There's no other calling that he can find higher than pleasing his mother and doing her will. Love's a powerful tool. It'll convince you to kill your husbands, and fathers will do what they can but they're no match for her brave little man. When Providence charged her with raising a son, there was some jobs that would need to be done. And now here in God's garden, it's a glorious day. Now that those crows are out of the way. In the fullness of time, when he is full grown, a woman will come to claim him for her own. And all the best ways of achieving her needs, garages and cradles will need to be filled, and she will have crows of her own to be killed, and she will be queen, but their son will be king, because his father's tied up in the apron strings of his very own mother, in love with her boy, there with that gun. He's her pride and joy, and now here in God's garden, it's a glorious day. Now that those crows are out of the way. That's most of it.
You're tuned into A Taste of Talent on the Road, Season 2. I'm sitting with David Stoddard. Now, that was a very cool tune.
Dark.
It is dark, yes, but I enjoyed it.
Oedipal. It's dark and Oedipal.
Now, you said there was an explanation
It's a true story.
tied to it.
Everything in it is true.
Okay.
It's a story I saw on social media.
Of course.
Where a woman was very excited that her son had killed all of these crows that were annoying her, and her picture was a giant pile of dead crows. And she was talking about what a great big man he was and how proud she was of him, and
Wow.
I was so viscerally disturbed by that I had to write them both a little song. So
Wow, yeah.
So how about that, folks?
Yeah. That's fascinating, though. That's awesome. Something that I've always found thrilling about your music is your songwriting. And something that I've always loved about this show, I mean, this is our second year doing it, is learning how people write their tunes.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your little method? Because I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, I get good and annoyed. And then that's part of it. That's my motivation. Especially about people I find distasteful. No, I'm kidding, of course. What happens?
Sure you are.
What happens is it starts a lot of times with a phrase that gets stuck in my head.
Okay.
If you've written songs before, you know sometimes a phrase from your own song will get stuck in your head for days.
Yes.
And you'll go, if it's been in there for days, then there must be something's happening with it, right? And so you take advantage of it, and then you try to build not necessarily a dramatic narrative around it.
Yeah.
It's not like this happened and then this happened and this. Then it's not sort of a ballad of story song, because people say, "Oh, I love." There's a story in there. It doesn't have to be a factual narrative. This plot-based story. It can be the background of something that happened.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
A little bit like in that last song, there was a little bit of a story there, which hopefully in the song I sort of brought out that thing, and then I just made all these wild assumptions about this poor guy's relationship with his mother, which are probably true.
Probably. We can neither confirm nor deny, but probably if we had to say so.
That's right. And so anyway, it's a snapshot of an emotion.
Ooh.
You know, it's and so you try to describe what it is you're feeling or smelling or seeing or some sort of sense thing that's happening. And it's a little bit like if you've ever written sort of a long form piece. We used to do this in middle school and high school where you had to write a theme or something, right?
Yeah.
It really helps to have a sort of one sentence synopsis of what the whole thing is about.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And everything you put on that paper has to come back to that one sentence. If it's not in the sentence, if it doesn't relate directly to it, it doesn't go in that song. And if it only relates peripherally to it, you got to get it there somehow.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can create a thing in your song about what somebody did or said or whatever. And so, but I always think of it as a snapshot of an emotion.
I love that.
And so that's what it is. And that emotion can be irritation, or it can be bewilderment, or it could be silliness, or whatever, anger or whatever.
Totally.
So, But every once in a while, you put in that one chord that is different from all the other ones. Sometimes that's all it takes. Try not to be too in your head about it, but you also try to do something that's a little bit unique. You try to be unique. You don't want to be like everybody else.
Right.
Right. And
but you also don't want to clutter, I'm guessing, either. You don't want to put too much junk in there.
Right. Yeah. Everyone has influences in how they think of narration, or even, we all have influences in the stories we tell others and the jokes we tell. We either like to be, silly or serious or sarcastic and whatever. And we get those from people that we listen to. You might appreciate the George Carlin side of humor, or you might appreciate the, Hannibal Buress style of comedy, or you might, and we, those things that resonate with us find their way into how we interact with other people. And songwriting is exactly like that. You find ways that if something resonates with you, then you find, but also you try not to be the person you're influenced by.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Songwriters sometimes will. I had a friend of mine. He says, "Hey, I wrote this song," and he played it for me. It's a good song, but did you realize that the chords and the melody are exactly the same as the song we were singing last night? Oh, he goes, "I didn't even realize that." Yeah, So you try not to be the person. Or if I was talking to somebody recently that was really influenced by Bo Burnham. And if you're familiar with Bo Burnham's work on he's all over Netflix, you should check that out. But he has turned a corner in his voice in the last 2 years.
I agree.
A number of years ago, he was this funny comedian who did songs, and now his songs have taken on this really sort of mature analysis of the human condition, which was always sort of there, but now it's
very more prevalent.
Way bigger than he is, and he's getting results from it. And I was talking to somebody that was really influenced by that, and he wrote a song that could have been a Bo Burnham song. I see what you're doing.
Sure.
There, right? So we try not to recreate our influences. However,
they slip in here and there.
They slip in here and there.
Yeah, maybe give an homage at some point, but I like it because that's kind of the big thing, is being your own independent artist, and that's huge in in this world for sure. Yeah,
it's a tougher road to hoe, but there's a lot more of us.
That's true.
There's a lot more independence than there are
copycats. Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of more independence, let's have a new tune.
Everybody's a little scared. We're finding ourselves with time on our hands, and everything is still up in the air. We're not knowing exactly where we'll land, and everybody's alone now. We're all out on our own now. We used to be princes, we used to be frogs, but today we're all the underdogs. So who do you root for? The game is entirely in your head, trying to play for both sides. And the day when you'd rather just stay in bed, and so you put on a brave face, you're peeking out of your safe place, Yeah, your home is a castle, but you're lost in the fog. And today we're all the underdogs. Your self-doubt is a shadow that you cast like a spell on your own head. So you take your paper hat, you take your wooden sword, and you take your fight to the giants in the dark. You take your fight to the senseless horde. You take your fight to the bullies in the park. And then you put on your real face in the light of your own grace. Yeah, we used to be princes. We used to be frogs, but today we're all the underdogs. Yes, we're all the underdogs.
Well, David, I'm surprised how fast time is going. But, something that I want to say real quick is, as we mentioned before, you were a professor at M State.
Yep.
I was one of your students, and I must say...
the truth comes out.
Yes, that, yes, M State was a small... faculty and all of that, but I must say, of all of them, you were probably my favorite.
Oh, you're so kind.
It was
Thank you.
Every class we had, it was just humorous, and I didn't think of it until we got down here. But I don't know if you remember, but I have in my book a bunch of David Stoddard quotes that you've said throughout the 2 years. And some that also include, like, I for one welcome a new gerbil overlord, and just random stuff like that. Yeah,
Very nice.
If it's on the wall, it must be art.
Isn't that true? If it's on the wall, it must be art.
It is true. And one of my personal favorites was if we had to limit the people around us to the people who weren't stupid, you know how lonely we would be?
I said that? That's really cynical. Really?
Yes.
What? Okay.
But
what time was the class at?
8 in the morning.
There you go.
That's why.
There you go.
But no, I really want to just thank you for that, and thanks for being such an inspiration.
Wow.
Because you and especially Mr. Everson and Ashworth and Quaintance were foundations for me, and it was just really joyful to get to know all of you guys.
Well, I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate it, and every once in a while, students come through, and you just kind of see a spark. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's pretty amazing.
You're welcome. And viewers and listeners probably know that I'm pursuing a music education career. I have one more year to go. Do you have any advice for me? Since I know you're so good at giving advice.
Take the first job you get. No. It is the thing that I would say for all music educators is always be cognizant of meeting your students where they are. Yeah. Because we know a lot. We've got a lot that we've learned over the years, and for a lot of people, that is learning about music, no matter how much they enjoy it, is difficult for a lot of people, and so. All educators should do this. Meet your students where they are. It's sort of a foundational precept of all human interactions, really. Yeah. We're all in this together.
Totally.
And so there are times as a music educator that I have failed spectacularly at that. And there are times when I feel like I've gotten it right, but be aware that sometimes you're going to go home after school and go, I was not good today. That was on me. And so just be aware that we're all in this together, and that's just kind of how we are.
Sure. Well, thank you.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody. And Derek, it's good to see you again. Yeah. We were laughing because I must have bumped my head or something.
Who knows? Hi, who are you? Derek, we were...
I was your student.
Oh man,
It's happened to me too, where I've run into old professors and
Oh,
they
yeah.
said, "Tell me your name again." So sorry about that, Derek. You folks don't see Derek, but he's right there behind the camera and
yes,
and
being a big
yeah,
help.
Not one of my prouder moments for sure.
And you mentioned in the beginning of the show, you got a new lesson studio going. You got this company going, Northern Roots. What did you say?
Northern Roots Sync Music.
Sync music.
Sync music is the industry term for what they used to call bed music.
Oh,
They used to call it production music.
Yeah.
Although that term is still out there. They used to call it bed music.
Okay.
And it's music that you hear in commercials or music that you hear behind a DJ talking on the radio and whatnot. And I've started a new service whereby that's what we offer, and you can find it at northernrootssyncmusic.com.
Pretty self-explanatory. I love it.
Hopefully, that's what we did right.
Yes.
And we have probably a couple of hundred little tracks on there that you could peruse and
that's
drop us a
amazing.
note and all that. Northern Roots Sync Music. So
Perfect.
if you're out there and listening to this and thinking we need to advertise, well, I got your music.
There you go. Boom, baby.
Boom.
And then where can people find your music?
DavidStoddardMusic.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, STODDARD, all one word. You can find all kinds of stuff there. You can find some videos. I've been doing some film music, and you can find all that sync music is there as well as some other things that are not on the sync music site, TV themes and so on. And
Perfect.
it's just your one-stop shop for all things Davidpedia.
Love it. Davidpedia. I love that. And then now you mentioned your website, and if I may, so it finally got running. Because I remember you were having troubles with it when I was your student at one point.
I'm constantly having trouble with it. Things
Because it was like, no, I paid you to make this. You make it.
Oh. Things that work for normal people don't work for me. You can put that in your quote book. I've said it a lot recently. Things that work for normal people don't work for me. That's just something that happens, and I'm ready for that every day to just go, oh, I guess I live in a neighborhood where there's lots of great communication on these different websites, and they asked me to be part of the group, and I said, I've tried to do that, it doesn't work. Can you just come over to my house and tell me what's going on? And they go, no, it's really easy. Oh, I know it's easy. I'll just come over and help you. Oh, no. Don't do that. I don't want to be part of this. But if there's something that's going on, just come over and tell me, because stuff that works for normal people does not work for me.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It is. And I'm okay with that. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready with that. That's fine.
Accepted the terms of it. And
Yeah,
all
right.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes I come up out of my basement and I look up and down the street and I go, all right, back in the basement. That's just what I'm doing.
All right.
I wrote a song about you, but that song isn't true anymore. And then I went and put it on a record, and now years later I sit and wonder what I went and did that for. That's like some old photograph you don't want anyone to see. That old ugly snapshot look any less like me. Yeah, I went and wrote a song about you, but that song isn't true anymore. Now the stuff we used to listen to, it doesn't do a thing for me these days. Yeah, well, that'll happen after 100,000 spins of Sweet Home Alabama and Purple Haze. Now the melody and the words just sort of lay there on the page, like a faded postcard from another age. And the stuff that we used to listen to, it doesn't do a thing for me these days. Now every moment like no other, everyone is is getting older. Funny how we think we'll never change. Now the stuff that used to turn me on don't turn me on the way that it used to do. And every day there's something that I swear I never saw before in you. Maybe that's just my tendency. Maybe it's kind of a stage. Maybe I'm a fine wine and I'm mellowing with age. But the stuff that used to turn me on don't turn me on the way that it used to do. Now every moment like no other, everyone is getting older. Funny how we think we're never gonna change. Yeah, I wrote a song about you, but that song isn't true anymore. And then I had to put it on that damn record, and now it sits there and it festers like a sore.
Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, which I don't know where time has gone. It seems like only been 5 minutes. But no, I'm so honored that we got to be able to sit down and do this.
Well, you're creating a legacy of your own, you know,
Yes.
with what you've been doing, and I appreciate it so much that
You're welcome.
you are really creating a space for art in the community, and it's a pretty amazing endeavor. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for joining this.
Mm-hmm.
And since we don't have that much time, do you have any last parting words? You can find your music at davidstoddard.com, of course.
davidstoddardmusic.com.
Any last thing to plug? Any last words of wisdom? Anything like that?
Just stay in touch.
Sure.
Stay in touch.
Yeah, I will.
You and everybody else.
Just stay in touch.
Let us know how you are. Yeah, davidstoddardmusic.com. That's I don't play a ton, I don't have a lot of concerts.
Sure.
But I try to put what's on the calendar up there, and northernrootsyncmusic.com for more business to business sorts of things. It's one of the things that we do, you diversify when you're doing the arts, and you try to keep your hand in it one way or the other. So
that's true.
But yeah, last words of wisdom. Stay in touch.
I was hoping for maybe a good old David Stoddard quote again. No.
That's like a nickname.
Man.
You can't force them.
That's true. No, that's true. They
you
have to come
have
naturally, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But and also, we're like I mentioned, we're kind of down in the cities, and this is we were mentioned before we started filming. This is like a little gem.
Centennial
here in
Lakes
the
Park.
cities.
Yeah, this is
awesome.
You were very near the sort of France and Edina 50th.
Yeah.
We're at 77th in France, I think, is where we're at. But it is a bit of a gem, and we are in one of the more well-to-do of the areas of the Twin Cities, and so
yes,
you're going to find that.
I hate to say it, but I think we're pretty much out of time. And
Okay, well, thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
we
it.
got to hear one last tune.
Another song. This song is interesting because it has this chord in it. It's a little half diminished for those of you who are
best.
Yeah. Well, there's a love so hard it brings tears to the eyes that contemplate it. And there's one so loved that her merest sigh can melt the hardest heart. And there's a sea so large that the finest boat would fail to navigate it. She's my star, and she is small and she is far, but she surrounds me with her light. So will you hold my heart until I see you again? I'll be dreaming of our love across the miles. Will you hold heart until I see you again, till the moment I behold your smiling eyes. Fate so cruel that it only lives to see us separated. It's a wall, it's so high like a mountain, it would keep me from my love. And it's a rain so hard that you feel as though you surely must be drowning. And it is clouds and they are high, but I know my star is shining higher still. So will you hold my heart until I see you again? I'll be dreaming of our love across the miles. Will you hold my heart until I see you again? Till the moment I behold your smiling eyes. So I'm gonna face that fate for forever, 'cause I know my love's eternal. I'm gonna conquer that wall, I'm gonna climb, and I'm gonna climb, and I will fly, and I will sport in that rain, 'cause I know that the rain won't last forever. And I will fly up through those clouds and keep on flying till I'm in my lover's arms. So will you hold my heart until I see you again? I'll be dreaming of our love across the miles. Will you hold my heart until I see you again? Till the moment I behold your smiling eyes.
The following program has been brought to you by the Minnesota Arts, Cultural, and Heritage Fund. If you like what you hear and like to hear more, you can check out nijiradio.org or prx.org. I am Jacob Woody, and you've been listening to A Taste of Talent on the Road. Thank you so much for your time.